Hello everyone, I'm the ALADDIN'S. Welcome to SHOCKMANIA. Now the public domain is a lot of fun. When a work enters the public domain, it means it's free for anyone to adapt and to do whatever they want with it. Now Aladdin has been in the public domain for a while now, since the 19th century, would you believe it? And it has been the subject of dozens of films, cartoons, TV shows, and even comics. And of course, the most famous version of Aladdin that we all know is the 1992 Disney animated feature. But that is not part of the public domain because it has specific bespoke characters like Jasmine and Jafar. They can't appear in any non-Disney adaptation of an Aladdin film. Now it's important to note this because if you're going into these movies I should say, thinking that you're going to see Jasmine and Jafar, you're going to be sorely disappointed. Now it's also worth quickly discussing the story behind the original Arabian Nights version of Aladdin. Now, Aladdin wasn't part of that original series of stories. It was added in the 18th century by a Frenchman. And the story goes something like this. A street bum called Aladdin is convinced by a sorcerer to help him retrieve a lamp from a cave. Now, Aladdin makes his way to the cave, but he gets trapped. He rubs his magic ring, which the sorcerer gave him, and a genie appears who helps him to get out of the cave. Aladdin takes the lamp with him, and then when he gets home, he gives the lamp to his mother, who cleans the lamp, and a bigger, larger, more powerful genie appears. This one grants him a series of wishes. Now, not being stupid, as you would, Aladdin obviously wishes to be rich and marry the princess. Of course, that stuff comes true. But the sorcerer finds out about the lamp and that Aladdin has escaped from the cave, and he manages to steal it off him. Now, Aladdin eventually gets that lamp back, and all is well in his life. Now, this is my truncated, but I think fairly accurate version of the original story of Aladdin. And those who've seen the Disney version are going to go, well, that's slightly different. But yeah, that's obviously the case. So how easy would it be to adapt that story of Aladdin into a horror film? I think fairly easy, and I'll touch on that a bit later. But first, let's have a look at these two ITN masterpieces from director Brent Bentman. And Brett, if you're watching this, just calm down before you leave a comment down below. Now, I know you did the same thing when I previewed Lone Star Shark. You were fairly aggressive in some of the things that you said, but just hold on for a second because I don't think this review is going to go as bad as you think it is. There are parts of these films that I did enjoy, so just wait until the end. That's all I can suggest to you. And this movie also stars someone called Devanny Pinn, and for some reason she thinks that the lip filler and the fake eyelashes were a great idea. They weren't. Now, she plays a woman called Rachel who's suffering from something called megalophobia, which means that she has a fear of large objects. And now, alongside her partner and two other people who are supposed to be her friends, and I say supposed to be because there's a comment in the movie where they talk about, or the girl talks about, spending the last 2 years trying to get pregnant. And I think if you're friends with someone, that's probably something you know about. But anyway, they're renting this house for the weekend, some kind of couples therapy from what it looks like. Now, while they're there, they find the lamp in a drawer and they make a couple of wishes. Well, specifically Mel makes a couple of wishes on the lamp. And when this happens, all hell breaks loose. Specifically her second wish, where she wishes to be pregnant, and she gives birth to some AI devil spawn. Yes, I have to say, there is AI used in these films. Now, eventually, Rachel uses the third wish of the lamp to undo the actions of the first two wishes, and then she destroys the lamp, hoping that it puts an end to her nightmare. But you can never really destroy a magic lamp, can you? And that's obviously now what happens as we fast forward into the second film after an undisclosed period of time, where Rachel has been forced to attend a therapy session for the weekend in the home of a court-approved therapist. Now, somehow, the lamp tags along with her, and the other patients who are there for the therapy session learn about the lamp and its powers. Now, both of those people wish upon the lamp to see a departed loved one, and this, obviously, unleashes the demonic Aladdin, who wants to get his revenge on Rachel after the events of the first movie where he was stopped from being reborn. That was one positive thing that Rachel did. Now, like you, I wasn't expecting these films to be great, but there has to at least be a minimum level where creatives can use a well-known character and at least try to make something that resembles the story that people know. Now, I'm all for reimagining, and especially if you're going to bring something new and exciting and fresh to the table. But let's be honest, there's so much that you could have done here with this story and characters that would have just made a lot more sense. Now, for example, and this is where I get to have a go at the Aladdin story, so by all means, leave a comment below if you think it sounds terrible. Why not have a story based on Aladdin himself? And if you're sitting there thinking, but hold on, my budget doesn't allow me to recreate Maghreb, the ancient city of Maghreb where Aladdin is based in. Well, that's great. Set it in modern times. So you could do something like this. A homeless man called Aladdin finds a lamp in the trash behind an antique shop. He takes the lamp thinking that he can sell it, and he decides to clean the dirt off it. Out comes the genie, who wants to grant Aladdin 3 wishes. But there's a twist. Whatever Aladdin wishes for, the other person gets the same or double. So this forces Aladdin to think about how he can get the revenge on the people who made him homeless, whether that be his partner, his ex-boss, or an ex-best friend. Aladdin, maybe he wants them to die, but he knows that that would result in his death too, so he needs to be a bit more creative about how he plots his actions. Now, to add a bit of a spanner in the works, this results in the antique owner discovering what's happened and deciding to help Aladdin to harness the power of the lamp and the genie. Okay, so that might not be the greatest story, I get it, but it's a little bit more exciting than 4 people stuck in a cabin or a building or a house for the weekend who just kill each other. And then you do the same story again for the second movie. Literally, the story could have been anything. There was probably no reason to have called it Aladdin other than for people like me who were scrolling Tubi and saw it sitting there. Now, I need to actually mention something here, that the only time that the genie is even mentioned, and by specifically I mean genie, is that in the first movie, when the boys are talking about an incident that happens when they're in a public restroom, a bloke called Gene E.
I met a trucker named Gene E.
Literally, that is the only time Genie appears, because Aladdin is the creature that's stuck in the lamp granting wishes, not a genie.
Gene E.
So we've established now that the movies could have explored a better, more suitable storyline other than the generic scenarios that they ended up being. No, we can't change that now. Stories are done, they're dusted, and they're available on Tubi. And seriously, go check them out. They're on Tubi, they're fun, right? So let's just talk about the movies themselves. Contrary to what other reviews of these movies have said, I actually think that the acting, with the exception of Devanny Pinn, I think the acting's bloody good. Now, I liked Billy Blair, who plays Jake in the first film. I think he was great. And I like Tiffany McDonald, who played Nora in the second film. And interestingly, she's also in a horror movie about Betty Boop, so I need to go check that out. And for any of you trivia fans out there, she was also in the Stephen King adaptation of A Long Walk. But the rest of the films, I don't know what the right words to use are here. Now, low budget movies exist for a reason, and I am glad that they do. Don't get me wrong. I love low budget movies. I watch a lot of them. I enjoy a lot of the ones that I watch too. But this takes low budget to the extreme. So most of the kills, not all of them, most of the kills occur off screen, complemented by, your typical squishing and sloshing sound effects. And it's also clear that whatever the locations that they were used in the film, the first movie looks like it was some kind of really fancy Airbnb, second movie looks like it's someone's private house. I could be completely wrong. It's obvious that you couldn't make a mess in those locations. So things are framed to imply something gory has happened, but in reality, nothing has. But it's the fucking AI that's used. Now, AI has its uses. Let's be honest, no one wants it so prominently in their movies though. And I know we've got no choice in the future. And I also know the lure for low budget and no budget filmmakers is to use AI to get it to create those big detailed scenes and those big explosions using a really cheap method. But that's what you get here. You get cheapness. And the AI is used when the story wants to show a flashback. So there are a couple of really grating scenes of AI video usage, and one of them is when there's a Middle Eastern young boy. He's doing that AI run, and there's people in the background. There's the repeated clip of the lamp floating down in the water, and probably the worst one of them all, it's used in the second movie, is this recreation of a fiery car crash that looks horrible because the car on the very left-hand side of the screen appears to be a police car, but there's only one of the flashing light and it looks like it's split in half. And you know, it's not on long enough for you to really pay enough attention to what's actually happening in the scene. It's just there for 2 or 3 seconds for you to go, ooh, violent car crash. But it's clearly obvious that it's AI usage. It's awful, it's grating, and above all, it is really obvious. Then I have to say that the music doesn't really suit the movies. When I think of Aladdin, I think of maybe Persian music. So maybe that was my failure here, expecting better music or different music than what we ended up getting. Now, there is another issue, and this more is to rely with the online listings of the film. TMDB actually lists the sequel, Aladdin's Revenge, as coming out 11 days before the first movie, Aladdin. So if you're looking at this, Brent, perhaps that's something that you go to TMD and fix up. Unless, of course, you did release the sequel before you released the first movie, which is an interesting choice, I've got to say. Now, both of these movies are available on Tubi, and I do encourage you to go watch them. Why not? What have you got to lose? They're an hour and 15 minutes each. They're good enough for what they are, right? But just, don't go in expecting Disney's Aladdin. Go in expecting more the first Winnie the Pooh movie. So using the patent pending ghost rating, which stands for great horror or stupid trash, I will give them both 1 ghost each. Now, I was tempted to give the first one 0 ghosts, but it's not Peter Pan, Neverland, Nightmare terrible. That movie definitely deserved 0 ghosts at all. There is at least a couple of good things in the movie, like Jake from the first movie. I really like him. He's a great character, to be honest. And Nora from the second film, I loved the actress that played her, and I loved the way that she took that role on. There couldn't have been much for her to go on, and I think she did a great job in making Nora an interesting character. But no, I don't like the lead. And I know reading online, I'm not the only one who thought the same thing. And of course, it's the AI usage of that AI was probably what should have knocked it down to 0 ghosts. But, this is not Chinese horror movie bad, so it shouldn't get 0 ghosts. Anyway, I'm the ALADDIN, and you are watching Shockmania. Have you seen Aladdin or Aladdin's Revenge? I would be keen to know what you thought of either of the film. Brett, if you're still watching, look, I'm not having a go at you. I'm really not. You were living the life that I want in a low-budget filmmaker, pumping out horror movies, and I think that's a lot of fun. But you have to understand that sometimes when you make a film like this, people are going to look at it and go, it's not what I was expecting, or maybe you could have tried something a little different within the budget. But, I'm glad that you keep making movies, and that is no attack on you. So anyway, like, subscribe, all that jazz. I've got a Discord if you want to join along. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Thanks for tuning in.